Very good, guys. So we're jumping into today's episode of the Pathmonk Presents podcast. And I think I have a very interesting guest with me here today. I have the Director of Technical Content Strategy from OmniSci heading over, Antonio Cotroneo. And essentially, what we're going to be talking about is what the folks are doing over there at OmniSci, what the product is all about, and a little bit about that digital strategy, and also how a technical content strategist thinks about growth as well. So, Antonio, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Very good. So, maybe in your own words, what is the product all about?
So OmniSci is an analytical platform. We are a visual analytical tool that allows users to be able to query and visualize spatiotemporal, which is essentially geographic and time-based data at massive scales. So we're talking about hundreds of millions and billions of records of spatiotemporal data, and being able to slice and dice that information in a new and unique modern experience for more modern data problems that we're seeing in the field.
Very cool. And for everybody who's listening in and wants to actually see a visual of this, you can actually head over to omnisci.com and you can see a couple of examples on how that actually looks like, what we just here talking about verbally. So Antonio, maybe tell us, who would be using this type of technology? Like what is the use cases? What are the clients that are leveraging the platform?
Yeah. Absolutely. So we actually find that we have a somewhat of a broad user base in overall roles. We have people that are in executive positions that tend to use our visual tools in a similar way that many would experience, like a typical BI, for instance. But then we also have more analytical roles, people that come to use our technology that are data scientists or geospatial analysts. And that are looking to enhance their overall experience and actually begin to explore and interrogate their data in ways that they just haven't been able to before. Like we kind of mentioned in the last question, data this size is typically very difficult to explore, and so being able to do so for perhaps in some cases the first time for some of these users is a really unique experience and is fairly eye-opening.
Yeah, makes a whole lot of sense. You mentioned already a couple of roles that are sort of bringing the technology in, data scientists. Who else would be a champion, right, for OmniSci? Like who holds the flag high and brings it into their companies?
In terms of like customers of ours?
Yeah, like who would be, does it sit with the data science team only? Is there other teams that would picking it?
Yeah, so I would say like, and we'll kind of throw in a little bit of kind of industry flavor here as well. So like fairly cross industry. So we have fairly heavy presence in the government space as well as in the commercial space within telecommunications. And one of the areas of vehicle telematics that we've seen a good deal of growth in as well. So with some of the automotive OEMs and organizations that develop technology for those automotive OEMs, and then within the actual org, it's fairly vertical in terms of the types of roles and where the technology is used. So you may see data scientists or analysts or business intelligence analysts, developing the actual analytic or building out the visualizations, but those are typically shared and used to make decisions up and down the org. So whether that be some executive staff or people that may be managing some of these technologists. So we see a fairly wide adoption within an org, particularly once individuals in those more technical roles begin to build, these visualizations, and we find that they kind of start small, and that quickly begins to gain some overall momentum when organizations begin to adopt it a little bit more heavily.
Very cool. Maybe you could tell us also a little bit about sort of your role in the company, because I know you've recently moved into the role of the Director of Technical Content Strategy. Maybe shed some light into the role, because the title can mean a couple of things. So what does it mean in your case?
Yeah, absolutely. So in my case, This role sort of straddles two different orgs within our company. So within our solution and engineering org, as well as our marketing org. And so the small team that we're spinning up now is essentially going to be tasked with developing a lot of our technical blog content, as well as tutorials, how-tos, beginning to bolster our technical video content as well, so that we can help enable a lot of the users that are, initially interacting with the technology, building out the visualizations, and then kind of spreading the word for us within their organization. So we essentially are tasked with kind of managing and creating all of that content to support our overall go-to-market strategy.
Makes a lot of sense, and super interesting how the two teams collaborate in your case to have that technical edge content that you guys bring out. I would be curious though, you guys generating a lot of content and actually have that specific team even spin up for that. What role would you say do you attribute to the website? I know you're not in depth, working with website optimizations or any such thing, but maybe tell us high level, like what is the role of the website? Is it for client generation? Is it informational purposes only? What role do you attribute to that?
Sure, and this is something that our team will definitely get more involved with over time. But at this point, we're sort of starting small. There's plenty to do. But in terms of like the way that our website is acting today, it's definitely I would say mostly for information purposes, as well as to get people onboarded onto the technology and to get early access to the technology. And by early access, I mean like to be able to quickly, gain access to our free product. For instance, we have an OmniSci free product. So, quickly being able to get your hands on a license and to be able to spin up an instance of OmniSci for yourself, so you can kind of get going and learn and build and share. So I would say for the most part, that's the way that we're using the website today. So is to gain access to the product, and then to learn about the product and how you may be able to use it within your organization.
Very cool. You brought up that you're building up that motion of content generation. Our listeners typically like to ask, what is really interesting to many people is to map like the type of company to the type of growth strategy. Like, for example, in inbound and outbound, email outreach, LinkedIn outreach versus the website generating clients. Where would you map yourself, your team? Are you guys more like outbound driven, inbound driven, just for people to
know? So to be honest, we're in the middle of a bit of a overall change for us. So in the past, there's been a bit of a top-down approach, and I think we've seen this across the industry, right? I mean, many organizations have begun to transition from more of that top-down, large enterprise sale motion into more enabling users to be able to get on board onto the technology, get their hands on the technology, so that they can better understand what its capabilities are and how it may be applied to their problems. So I would say in terms of our overall approach, it's being able to interact and build community around those individuals, enable them, and then help grow their presence within their organization, so that they can essentially be evangelists for us within the org.
Very, very interesting. I want to come back to the product, right? Maybe could you sort of, especially because you come with the technical chops as well, could you lay out to the listenership, like what is unique to the product? What is something that is difficult to get somewhere else?
So one of the things that's truly unique about OmniSci is our ability to orchestrate all of our compute across all of the different hardware that may be available within that machine. So let's say we have a Linux machine that has both CPUs and GPUs, or graphics processing units within the machine. We have the ability to leverage both of those compute components, so that we can actually accelerate the entire analytical and visualization process, which is quite unique. In terms of, as I mentioned in that first question, we primarily work with large space and time data. So in the industry today, it's very difficult to handle and visualize spatial data. It is notoriously difficult to visualize. And takes a large amount of hardware, but we're able to accelerate that process through our architecture, so that what may have taken hours or days in certain cases, we can get down to just a few minutes or even just a few seconds, depending on the type of workload that we're trying to accomplish. And so I think for us, like when people are beginning to evolve past like the kind of traditional dashboards and want to have more interactive kind of speed of curiosity exploration of their data, they need technology like ours. It's particularly if they're working with large space and time data. There aren't just to be forward, there aren't many products on the market like ours that are capable of accomplishing that.
Yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense. I think we dived into the product a little bit. We learned what you guys are doing. I would be curious to learn a little bit about yourself, right? Since you sit at that intersection of technology and content strategy, I'm very curious. What would be the type of content that you consume? Where do you go to educate yourself with the massive bunch of content being out there in the two fields that you're operating in, tech and content marketing, obviously?
Yeah, I think the thing for me, I'll talk about like what's really been attracting me these days has been video. And I'm tending to find myself learning more and being more engaged from video content from other technical creators. I find that especially when trying to learn about a more complex and technical concept or methodology, that being able to have video and then reference perhaps some other type of piece along with that they may have created and shared, I think really helps learn those concepts more effectively and just kind of have fun.
Cool.
So I think most recently, I would say over the last year or so, that's been the way that I've been most delighted by other content creators.
Super interesting. Since we're slowly coming to an end of the interview, I would love to jump into our rapid fire questions. Are you ready for those?
Okay. Lightning round. Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. What's the last book you read?
What is the last book that I read? It was a book called Why the Last Man, which is I'm a big graphic novel fan. So Brian K. Vaughan is a writer that I absolutely adore. Why the Last Man was the last book that I read.
Very cool. What's the one single thing your company is focused on the most at the moment?
I would say big data visualization.
If there would be no boundaries in technology, what's the one thing you want to have fixed for your role today?
Oh man, that's a really difficult question. One thing that I would like to fix, I would like for my laptop to not hiss every time I do voiceover recordings.
Makes a whole lot of sense. Very mundane, but it makes a whole lot of sense.
Cutting out some of that background noise can be difficult. So you got to get creative. So if I had to fix one thing, that would be it for sure on a day-to-day basis.
Very cool. What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
Actually was fairly sleepless last night about the blog that we're putting out today. So that was the most recent piece. It was mostly around what video or animated GIFs did I need to have prepared in preparation for publication today. So that was the last thing that kept me sleepless.
Very good. And if today would be your very first day, you joining OmniSci, right? So you're jumping on the car or getting into the office first day. You might have actually joined remotely, what I can see from
I did.
From the timeline. What's the one advice that you would give yourself?
Lean into your creative side. There are plenty of technologists within the org. I don't need to know every last bit, and there are other ways that I can contribute outside of writing code.
Very cool. Tony, I really appreciate that you took the time with us today to be a guest on PathMonk Presents. I want to give you the very last word, right? If people would be forgetting all that we discussed about OmniSci, what's the one thing they should remember?
If you need to be able to slice through your space and time data, and it's been extremely difficult for you in the past to even map this, to visualize it, to see it all in one place, then you should probably try OmniSci. And you can for free if you go to our website and go check out OmniSci free.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on PathMonk Presents.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.